Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, I guess, as we start off. Well, we're not going to start off with that. We're going to start off with an injury update on Eriksen and Rasmus Højlund as their injuries have been confirmed. We're also going to be talking about what would be a dream transfer for Erik ten Hag involving Jadon Sancho. Numerous outlets talking about it today and other players and Saudi Arabia. Also, we'll be talking about Erik ten Hag, why there has been a dismantling, a disintegration, a falling out amongst senior players and Ten Hag. We'll talk about that as well. But first of all, there is only one place to start on this Monday, and that is obviously today. Many of you will have seen it. Sir Bobby Charlton was laid to rest. Many people lining the streets in Manchester, many people from across Manchester United's current and past history attending to pay tribute and respects to the great Sir Bobby Charlton. So it would be wrong of us not to mention that on the show today, because he is Mr. Manchester United and he will never be forgotten. So rest in peace, Sir Bobby Charlton, laid to rest today, of course. Okay, let's get into the show. Lots to talk about, of course, as well. Let's start with a bit of topical news. There is some injury news. I want to talk about this Sancho stuff, but I think we'll be talking about that for quite a while because there's quite a few twists and turns on it. So let's start off with some injury news that's come out officially in relation to the two Danish players, Rasmus Højlund and Christian Eriksen. Starting off with the good news, Rasmus is a strain. It looks like it's a thigh strain, and he will be back as planned at the end of November. Well, the end of November is basically 2 weeks away, which means hopefully he's back for the Everton game, which is a week on Saturday, which is sort of the end of November. I don't know whether he's going to be back for the Everton game, because the end of November could well be the Galatasaray game, could be the Newcastle game. Remember, we've got 3 big away games in a row straight after this international break. But the good news is with Rasmus is that it's not long term. It's not one of those 2 or 3 month injuries which we just cannot afford. But I think it is a warning. It is a warning to Ten Hag that he has to protect Rasmus. And have we seen enough rotation with Rasmus? I think very similarly to last season, Ten Hag has a tendency to just keep starting the same players. I think there were opportunities over the last 2 weeks to maybe start Martial and get Rasmus off the bench for 20 minutes. And I think he needs to start doing that a little bit more because Martial is fit at the moment. And I think there should be, no matter whether you've got Rasmus and Harry Kane or Rasmus and Wout Weghorst, I think you need to be protecting and sharing the load on a 20-year-old a little bit more. So we've had a warning sign there, and I think we need to use Martial a little bit more. Jan, welcome to the Members Club. Slightly more concerning news. Christian Eriksen will be out for a month. A month obviously takes us to mid-December. That would mean he will miss games against Everton, Galatasaray, Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Bayern Munich, and maybe Liverpool. So a little bit more concerning around Eriksen. And I think Eriksen is a loss because I don't like the midfield at the moment. I think it's imbalanced with Eriksen, McTominay and Bruno. But the one thing I will say that's positive about Eriksen, I don't agree with him playing as a holding midfielder, but the reason we've been doing it is because he's actually a player who can play between the lines and conduct things. Taking Eriksen out, who's going to do that role now? No Casemiro. He clearly doesn't trust Amrabat. Mount can't do it. So I think Eriksen will be more of a miss than people realise. I think Eriksen gets dismissed and underrated when he's actually the only midfielder that we've got who seems to be able to put his foot on the ball and play between the lines. So I think Eriksen will be a miss, and it looks like he's going to be out for a month. But good news on Rasmus. Good evening, Mark. Sir Jim will be official tomorrow, says Daily Hibbert. Well, you might be right. You might be right. It's definitely coming in. We'll talk about it in a little bit. What about Mainu? Says Mahenda. Well, have you seen Mainu given any minutes in the last couple of games when he's been on the bench? I mean, I hope he gives some minutes to Mainu. Maybe it's a fitness thing, but yeah, I would definitely give Mainu some minutes. Right, maybe we can come back to that. Let's talk about the title, Sancho Dream Move. Some of you might have seen some stuff today, but effectively what we're getting here is quite a wide selection of stories around Jadon Sancho. It's an international break. Man United aren't playing games. Surprise, surprise, stories surface in relation to Jadon Sancho. And of course, as well, this international break is very close to January. It's literally, 6 weeks till January now. That is the first opportunity for Sancho to get out. It's the first opportunity for Manchester United to remove him. So what are the latest stories? Well, it started with Matt Law in the Telegraph saying this morning that Jadon Sancho and Richarlison are targets for Saudi Arabia in the January transfer window. Ben Jacobs was on with an interview with Beth this afternoon. A fantastic interview, very wide-ranging. He was speaking about Ten Hag's future, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plans, a few other players as well, what the issues are with senior players and Eric Ten Hag, which we'll talk about in a moment. But he said there will be interest from Germany, but Saudi Arabia definitely interested in Jadon Sancho. And then Fabrizio Romano in the last few minutes, in fact, has put a tweet out saying that Juventus would be interested in taking Jadon Sancho, but it'll be a loan deal and they would want Manchester United to pay some of his wages. The sad thing with this is, and I think we've seen evidence of it, and this is, I said it a couple of days ago, when Sir Jim Ratcliffe takes hold of the footballing side, I think the way that Jadon Sancho is dealt with is going to be numero one for him, but it's also going to be the very first indicator of how he does. He can't get that right. He can't get that wrong. He can't get that wrong. He has to get it right about Jadon Sancho. And if he gets it wrong, then we'll all look at it and go, what a crap start to Sir Jim Ratcliffe's start at Manchester United. Has he got teeth, or is he a basking shark which don't have teeth? And what I mean by that is, this is the first thing that Sir Jim, as a football controller, with Sir David Brailsford and whoever else is going to come in, this is his first challenge. What will he do? I mean, he might say, I want him to stay. He might let him go on loan and pay his wages, or he might say he might get him sold to Saudi Arabia, which I think is the favourable choice for everybody. I mean, we'd probably get 40, 50 million quid. We get rid of him permanently. We move on. I think that's the best for Ten Hag. It's the best for the fans. It's the best for Sir Jim. It's the best for the Glazers. But is it best for Jadon Sancho? And I don't know is the honest answer to that. It's a dream move for Manchester United to get money for Jadon Sancho and get him out of the club. But I don't know whether that's going to happen. And sadly, I think this will be the indicator of how powerful Sir Jim is going to be at the club, because he's got to come in and get rid of him. And he's got to come in and get rid of him for money. But if Jadon Sancho says, I don't want to go and play in Saudi Arabia, I want to go and play in Italy for Juventus, or I want to go back to Dortmund, then what are we going to do? Dortmund cannot afford him. We'd have to pay his wages. Juventus cannot afford him. We'd have to pay his wages. So United have got a viable option where they can send him to Saudi Arabia, sell him, get money and move on. But if Sancho says no, then they're up the creek without a paddle. And remember, we need to start selling players, removing wages and getting money in. I mean, Sancho's not just a problem to remove for Ten Hag. He's also a vehicle to create funds in financial fair play by reducing wages and bringing money in. So it's going to be a really big deal. And I just don't know which way it will go. And I suppose, really, it comes down to what Jadon Sancho wants to do, because you can't force him to go to Saudi Arabia. I mean, I personally think he should go. I think he should go. I think he should go to Saudi Arabia because he'll earn 600-700 grand a week in his pocket, double his money, playing with some really good players in a really exciting league. You know, I'm trying to sell something I don't watch here. But no, I can see the attraction of doing it. But then he might feel that he doesn't want to do that. But I think that's contradictory in a way. If Sancho says, I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia because I want to rebuild my career, why didn't you apologise and try and rebuild it at Manchester United? So I think it's going to be really interesting. And I just don't know how powerful Manchester United are going to be in this situation. I expect Sir Jim to get this wrong. Will he keep the Manchester in Manchester United and let Sancho stay? Glazers out. Love the show, says Dylan. Thank you very much. Sancho to Tottenham, we will be there. Look, if anybody in the Premier League offered Man United 50 million, I'd take it. I don't care where he goes. He can go to Spurs, Arsenal, Man City. They won't. Newcastle, I don't care. United can't afford to be, we're not going to sell to a rival. No, this is about, can we get rid of him? How do we get rid of him? I think that it's a really big, I'm sort of stuttering myself here. It's a really big test for Manchester United, because the eyes of the fan base will be on them. We'll have a bit of a new structure around our footballing control, which will be Sir Jim, let's be honest. And if he ends up going on loan and we pay half of his wages, we look absolutely weak. And it'd be interesting how it works out. Christian is celebrating the United Stand community. He loves this channel. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, fantastic community. Oh, that just reminds me as well. I should have said it at the start of the show. I've left the link in the live chat and it's in the video description. Christmas show, December the 11th. We've only got about 100 tickets left. We've sold nearly 400 already. So they're going very, very fast. Everyone's going to be involved in it from the United Stand. Drinks before. We've got loads of different things. If you've been to any previous United Stand show, it's going to be very, very different to that. Most of that was just me on the stage on my own for 2 hours. We've got different sections within the show. We've got a forum section. We've got a quiz section. We've got Ben Foster on. We've got another quiz between my podcast and the Football Filling podcast. We'll be giving gifts out. It's going to be a cracking night. December the 11th. Get your tickets. Links in the live chat, video description. It's the night before Manchester United play Bayern Munich as well. So great time to be in Manchester. Get your tickets. Get your tickets. It's going to be great and they're going fast. Even in the midst of all these midfield injuries, Donny can't even get a look, says Endu. Well, I wanted to talk about this. We had Ben Jacobs on the show this afternoon, exclusive interview with Ben Jacobs. He's been very good, although not very pleasing for some people, on his reporting of the sale of Manchester United. And the reason some people have a problem with Ben is because he has actually been very accurate around the fact that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was always in the race and that Qatar had never actually got a deal done. And sadly, that's actually the truth. You can only report what you're told, and he has got good sources. I've seen the stuff from where he gets it from. But he was also talking about a few other bits as well. And I thought it was very interesting what he said about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and how when Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes into the club, he's not just going to assess Erik ten Hag on results. It will also be on suitability, personality and vision, which to me makes sense because it's almost like a brand new interview, isn't it? Richard Arnold and the Glazers and John Murtagh gave Erik ten Hag the job. We're putting somebody else on a football control team. It's not John Murtagh, Richard Arnold and the Glazers anymore. It's Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Sir David Brailsford and Joel Glazer. Therefore, it makes complete sense that we see a scenario where they are going to assess him again, almost like a new candidate, because there's absolutely no point Erik ten Hag or Sir Jim Ratcliffe just carrying on as normal when it's going to be a new vision. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like going down a different path, isn't it? So which way do you think it's going to go? I think it's going to be really interesting to see. Personally, I don't think his job is in jeopardy. I don't think that's what the case is. But I do think there will be these conversations between Sir Jim and Erik ten Hag and Sir Jim's team and Erik ten Hag's team. And if anywhere along the line there is some bumps or some confusion or some resistance, then maybe longer term, he won't be the manager of Manchester United. But I think it was absolutely spot on what Ben Jacobs said. And I think it's actually very logical, really, that this is not just going to be about results. It's going to be about a different mentality, a different culture. And yeah, I think that that's something that Ten Hag is almost having to, how would you say it? Not reapply for his job, but he's going to have to look, he's been in a position where somebody's given him a job. He's 2 years into his job and he's working on that. I think now he's going to be working with different people and having to tell them what the vision is. And that's natural. And I expect him to come through those conversations. But yeah, everything has to be, it makes sense. Everything's got to be reassessed. Every contract, every player, every decision, the way that we train, the way that we do the fitness, the way that we recruit, the way we scout, everything. If you're taking control of the footballing side, or I'm taking control of the footballing side, then yeah, you're going to look at those sort of things. Exactly. So yeah, fully expect that. But also, Ben Jacobs was also talking about Saudi Arabia with Varane and Casemiro and how it's very, very likely that is where they will end up. Probably not in January, but probably in the summer. And again, this is sad. I think it's sad to see, but it is a way that Manchester United can move off expensive wage players with ease and actually get some money back as well. You'd have to say that if we let Casemiro go in the summer for anything less than 40 million, it's not great business, but if you remove that wage, it's not terrible. Varane we've had here for what will be 3 years next summer, and we paid about 40 million quid for him. So if we recover 20, we've probably not done too bad. I just think the quality of Varane and Casemiro they're two of the best quality players we've got in our squad. How do you replace those players? And also, when your four centre-back options are Martinez, Varane, Maguire and Lindelof, and you lose Varane, you're weakening your four options because Varane's actually your best option in that, in my opinion. What's up with these entitled fans who criticise Ten Hag for not attending Sir Bobby Charlton's funeral today? The man can't even fart without being criticised, says Mario Franco. I mean, I've not been on social media today. I've been on social media, but not as much as I normally am. And to be honest with you, it's not really. I think sometimes there are things you need to have an opinion on. I don't really need to have an opinion on that, and I don't intend on having an opinion on it. Although I'm now going to give you an opinion on it. Erik Ten Hag didn't attend the funeral of Sir Bobby Charlton today. The Glazers didn't attend the funeral of Sir Bobby Charlton today. The Glazers apparently didn't attend because they didn't want it to be a distraction. And Erik Ten Hag didn't attend because he had a pre-arranged commitment that had been in place for a very long time. It's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. And like Marvin says, he's got his personal reasons for it. Erik Ten Hag doesn't sound... He's not the sort of guy who had a holiday booked to Disneyland. That won't be what it's all about. And we're all geniuses, aren't we? We're all moral virtue kings. And I saw it, I read it, and not one part of me thought that's a disgrace. I didn't. There was loads and loads and loads of people there today. Not all the first team were there. And I don't think all the first team does need to be there. Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't there. Cristiano Ronaldo will know Sir Bobby Charlton. Not every player from the past was there who knew Sir Bobby Charlton. The point was, there was a lot of people who did turn up representing what is Manchester United. And I don't think we need to pick and choose who needs to be there and turn it into something it's not. Today was actually the day that Sir Bobby Charlton was put to rest. And I think every Manchester United fan, whether they were there or not, had a moment today where they thought about a man that actually encapsulates what Manchester United is. Why turn it into some sort of negative? Glennie says, when I opened up my internet browser this morning, there were a few headlines. One being Sir Jim wants to build the new United around Bruno, says Glennie. And surely Eriksen injury now paves the way for Amrabat to get a run of games in midfield. We can hope, says Nevin. Well, it could be an opportunity for Mason Mount as well. Did David Beckham attend? No, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. Thoughts on Brandon Williams doing helium today? I've not heard anything about that, Jamie, so I don't know if that's a lie in the chat or not. Brandon Williams is on loan at Ipswich anyway. It's not our problem, is he? So look, this feeds into something I was going to talk about. So Varane and Casemiro and Sancho all being linked to Saudi Arabia. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to clear three big wages. And it's an opportunity to bring in three reasonable transfer fees that you will never get in Europe. So I think United have a right to look at that. But it was interesting as well what I think Ben Jacobs said it, or maybe I read it somewhere today, about Erik Ten Hag and how he retains the support of a number of senior players in the dressing room. But there are those in the dressing room who find his management style hard to work with. We're not playing guessing game of who we're talking about here. There's no point, because I think last season you'd be guessing different people. And I think the tendency is to go, well, it must be Varane and Casemiro who don't get on with Ten Hag. But then a few months ago, they were in his team and a big part of his team. And certain players who are in his team now weren't in his team. So I don't think you can say, well, it's clearly Maguire and Rashford who like him and Casemiro and Varane who doesn't. We don't know who these players are, is the bottom line. And there's no point guessing because we've been down this road before. But what I will say about it is that it looks to me like there are cracks in that team. And that is a problem that not only Ten Hag but Sir Jim have got to look at. And it's not unusual, as Elvis Presley once sang, it's not unusual for managers who haven't managed big players to remove big players so that they can work with players who are more on their level. We sort of saw it with Arteta, removing Aubameyang and Ozil, who were big star players at Arsenal, who probably didn't respect Arteta because he was a new manager and they felt that they were bigger than him. It's not a bad idea for a manager to come in and do that. And maybe, and I'm only speculating here, maybe Erik Ten Hag came into that club and looked at people like Cristiano Ronaldo, David De Gea, Varane and Sancho now, and goes, you know what? It was Tom Jones, not Elvis Presley, sorry. And maybe he looks at them and goes, look, Varane and Casemiro are not 25. They're both at 31. They're not going to be part of my future vision. And they're also big personalities that have got a lot more experience than me that I don't really need to have a battle with. So maybe he's thinking like that. Certainly probably thought that with Ronaldo. Maybe he thought it with David De Gea. Erik ten Hag might be clearing house of winners because he needs a bunch of players that he can control. And he can control Bruno Fernandes because he's not a winner. He can control Harry Maguire because he's not a winner. He can control Marcus Rashford because they're not winners. They're very good players, but they can't come back at him and go, I've got 3 Champions League medals, I've won the World Cup. And I think that people might not like that mentality, but as somebody who is a supporter of Erik ten Hag, and I'm only speculating, I can sort of get it. He comes into Manchester United, he's got to rebuild that football club. Cristiano Ronaldo's there, one of the greatest players that's ever played the game. David De Gea's there, he's won a Premier League with Man United, he's won quite a lot. Varane and Casemiro have won Champions Leagues, World Cups in Varane's case. He might look at those players and go, I want to move those players out because I want to build my own thing. And with the likes of Bruno, he's never won anything really. So, you know, experienced player, but he can't start telling me how to win things. So I think that maybe there's something in that. Sir Alex Ferguson did it when he came to Manchester United. He didn't get rid of winners. He got rid of drinkers. He got rid of the drinking culture players. And that was how he cleaned house. And he brought in his players and he brought in the youth. It's very, very common for managers to do this. So, look, I'd be very sad if Casemiro and Varane leave. But on the other hand, I can sort of understand it because they cannot be part of a rebuild in their early 30s that's going to take 3-4 years. There's no point. They're going to gradually get more injured and drop off. There's no point in that. So I understand it. As sad as it is, I think we've wasted Casemiro and Varane to a certain extent because if we'd continued the build from last year into year 2, they'd be building with us. But we're clearly going to reset again. So I can understand why he's doing it. Which makes this season obviously very, very uncertain. Ten Hag signed Casemiro though, says Rory. Yeah, I know, which is weird. I admit it's weird. It is. But so you're basically agreeing with Zlatan that he can't work with big stars. How are we ever going to win then, says Nah. Well, I don't know whether Zlatan said that about Ten Hag. I'd have to reread the quote. I don't know that. Well, Erik ten Hag can't work with winners. Let me just not disagree with Zlatan, or because I can't remember the quote. He can't work with winners. I don't think he can work with winners because he's got no track record of working with winners. Until he proves he can work with winners, I don't think he can. But I don't think he's the first person to do that. And maybe he doesn't want to work with winners. Maybe he wants to build a team that wins and grows together, like he did at Ajax. De Jong wasn't a winner. De Ligt wasn't a winner. Van der Beek wasn't a winner. He built a team that won together. Same with Martinez and Anthony and everybody else. Maybe that's the Ten Hag model. Maybe he wants to have a group of players that he moulds together and they win together. Maybe that's the plan. But I definitely think that we've seen enough over the last few weeks to realise, and months, and last year, to realise that there are problems with that squad and the club are going to have to support the manager to rebuild it. Do you think we will be back in for De Jong if Casemiro leaves, says Sean? Well, I think that Frankie De Jong is an obsession of Erik ten Hag that he would love to bring to the club, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be easy for him to do it. I don't think it is. I think we were probably more of an attractive option to De Jong last summer than we are at the moment because we're not going to be in the Champions League next year. I don't know whether you watched the video with Ben Foster today. In fact, 2 very good videos with 2 Bens today, Ben Foster and Ben Jacobs. Make sure you check out both videos. But no, I don't think we will get Frankie de Jong. But I do think that there has to be... The midfield cannot be McTominay, Bruno and Mount. That's just not going to work. But I don't know. I mean, look, you're taking me into a path here that I'm obsessed with midfields. I think what Jurgen Klopp has done at Liverpool is incredible. In one summer, for Fabinho, Henderson and Thiago to basically disappear for different reasons. 2 of them go to Saudi Arabia and Thiago's injured. So his midfield that won him a Champions League and won him a Premier League is basically gone. and they've had a bad season last year. Liverpool could have been on, there was whispers about Klopp out in the media. So Liverpool could have been in big trouble. He's got a good attack. He's got a good defence. He's got a great goalkeeper, but his midfield's a problem. What does Jurgen Klopp go and do? Alexi McAllister, Endo, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai. He's now got a midfield where he had Cody Gakpo playing in it yesterday. He can bring Curtis Jones into it. Jurgen Klopp has probably got 6 or 7 players who can play in his midfield now, and he can probably create 4 or 5 combinations. And Liverpool are back in a title race. I think that I don't like Liverpool, but 2 months rebuilt his midfield. Good scouting, good recruiting. They're in a title race. Liverpool would be where they were last year if they'd left their midfield how it was. Their midfield is the heartbeat of a team. It's where games are won and lost. Man United's midfield causes me to despair. I don't understand what our midfield is. It's just got no balance. Like, you look at what Man City have got, what Arsenal have got, what Liverpool have got, what other clubs have got, even what Newcastle have got when everyone's available. But I look at Man United when everyone's available and I go, well, Casemiro seems to be out of favour. Eriksen is okay. Bruno is obviously always going to play. McTominay, I don't really think is good enough. Mainu is a kid. And Mason Mount, I don't get. So, an Amrabat, I thought was going to be the answer, but doesn't appear to be the answer. So, the balance in our midfield is chaotic at the moment. And the point is, I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe would come in and go, a year ago you spent 60 million on Casemiro. In the summer you spent 55 on Mount. You brought Eriksen in on a free. You've got Amrabat on loan. All right, Mainu's from the youth, McTominay's here already, and Bruno's here already. But you've brought 4 players into that midfield, and it's chaotic. What is it you're trying to do with that midfield? And we're not talking about style of play here, and we're not talking about where we are in the league, and we're not talking about whether we're going to go forward or back. We're talking about a very specific area, which is the midfield of Manchester United, the heartbeat of Manchester United. And I don't really know the vision there yet, because I don't know what his midfield 3 is meant to be. Do you reckon we could poach Rooney from Copenhagen? I mean, he looks like a player, Ruth. He does. He does look like a player. Logan says, what about the centre-backs? Well, yeah, I'm confused about the centre-backs. I mean, I think if Martinez is fit and Luke Shaw's fit, it's Martinez and Shaw on the left-hand side. Not really sure what he's doing on the right-hand side. I don't think Martinez and Maguire ever looked very good together. So I don't know what he does on the right-hand side. Does Varane come back in? Well, Varane's probably heading towards the door. Neil says he's just stuck in survival mode, Mark. Erik ten Hag wanted De Jong for a reason. Casemiro is a surprise, but he can't find another one. Yeah, the Casemiro deal was really exciting, but it sort of came from nowhere. There's no way that Ten Hag was saying, get me Casemiro. I think what happened is he wanted De Jong. We went for Rabiot. That fell through, and United said we can get Casemiro. And Ten Hag went, well, he is one of the best holding midfielders in the world. I'll take that over nothing because I'm not getting De Jong and I'm not getting Rabiot. I don't think Casemiro was like, go and get me Casemiro. And he was our best player last season. No doubt about it, in my mind. But Real Madrid and Bayern Munich have this tendency to sell off players to Manchester United that they know are going to drop off in the next year. And it keeps happening. One question I was asked today, it's a bit of an either or, and I'm going to do it for you as well. And I've just reminded myself about this. Okay, so how do I word this? We're 6th in the league. United 6th now. Oh, no, okay, right, let's write this. 6th now. By Christmas, higher or lower. That's perfect. Sometimes you just got to... I'm live, I'm under pressure, but you still think it through. So we're 6th now. By Christmas, will we be higher or lower? And let me just remind you of our Premier League fixtures running to Christmas. Everton away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Bournemouth at home, Liverpool away, West Ham away, and then Villa on Boxing Day. So Everton away, Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Bournemouth at home, Liverpool away, West Ham away. 4 away games, 2 home games before Christmas. Will we be higher or lower than 6th, where we are at the moment. Is it true Luke Shaw will be ready for the Everton game, says Yusuf? I mean, I'd love Luke Shaw to be back for the Everton game, but what you've got to remember about Luke Shaw is he's not played for quite a long time, and we're playing 3 games in 6 days. So if Luke Shaw plays against Everton, it's very unlikely he plays away to Galatasaray and Newcastle. So do you want him back, or would you rather you keep him back for the Galatasaray game or the Newcastle game? We don't want to overplay players. And can I just say this as well? As much as I love Luke Shaw, are we getting to a point with Luke Shaw where he's going to come back and play 3 games a week for the next 6 months? Or are we getting to a point with Luke Shaw where he's going to pick up injuries again? Because he was quite injury prone. Then he had a good couple of years. And now I'm just starting to think, I want to be careful with him because this injury is quite significant. To be out for 3 months, it's quite significant, and it's only December, so I think we need to be careful. The same, I think we've had a warning sign with Højlund. I don't think we should just be playing players all the time. Is the issue with our midfield that we have 2 6s and 4 or 5 10s, but no quality 8? I think the issue with our midfield, Glenny, is that we have got no 8s. A proper number 8 for me is somebody that can do the defensive work and the attacking work, and we haven't got somebody who can do that. I think Eriksen's a 10. I think Bruno's a 10. I think Mount's a 10. I think Casemiro is a 6. McTominay, I don't know, I think he's more of a 10 than an 8. And Amrabat, I haven't seen enough of Amrabat yet. So we don't have enough number 8s. And actually, they're the ones you need most of, the people who can do both jobs. My mate John Haney birthday today. Can you call him a Pratt, please, says Peter. You're a Pratt, John, but also happy birthday. There you go. Thank you very much for that. Right, let's have a quick look at this poll. We're 6th now. Where will we be by Christmas? 66% of you are saying lower than where we are now. 34% of you are saying higher than where we are now. Well, considering the league table, which I can probably just show you on the screen as well, but considering the league table and where Manchester United are currently, and I can get it up. Where are you? Where are you? There it is. Okay, so it's easier when you can look at it. That's how it looks at the moment. So Man United are 6th, and we've got Newcastle, Brighton, West Ham, Chelsea. So if you're going to drop, teams behind you have got to go above you. And if you're going to go up, you've got to, for first of all, well, look, we're not getting any higher. I'm glad I put the league table up. You're wrong. If you say higher, you're wrong. We're not going any higher because we're not turning around a 4-point gap on Aston Villa, considering that we've got 4 away games, one of which is Liverpool, West Ham, Everton, Newcastle, and we've got Chelsea at home. We're not going to close a 4-point gap on Aston Villa, I don't think, by Christmas. Villa have got Bournemouth away. They've got Brentford. They've got Sheffield United. You know, Villa have got some very... Fulham at home as well. No, they won that. Although they've got some difficult away games. They've got Tottenham away, Man City at home, Arsenal at home. Maybe we could. Maybe we could. But you've got to look at what's ahead of you, and you've got to look at what's behind you. I don't know that we'll be lower. I just don't think we'll be higher. I think we might be 6th. Because I don't think Chelsea are going to close 5 points on us. I certainly don't think West Ham are going to close 4 points on us. Brighton are struggling with an injury crisis like Newcastle. So I don't necessarily think we're going to drop lower, but I don't necessarily think we're going to go higher either. I think we'll be much around the same. Yeah. Also, Tottenham could start dropping. I really think from Arsenal, take Arsenal, Liverpool and Man City out of the equation, I really think from 4th to 10th, anything can happen in there. Anything can happen in there. We could be 4th. We could be 9th. And I don't think a lot's going to be separating those teams. I think it really is. I don't think there's a lot between 4th and 10th in quality at the moment, which makes for a very interesting league. But I think it's very hard to say. Well, look at it. Look at United. We've won 7. We've lost 5. And we've beaten basically relegation teams, haven't we? So we're in a bit of a false position. But you can't say Newcastle are doing any better, or Brighton, or West Ham, or Chelsea. I think there's a lot of teams that are quite similar at the moment. Everton coming off the back of that away Palace win. Newcastle, Chelsea, and Liverpool all beaters. Got to be lower, says Lewis. Yeah, but you know Newcastle away will be difficult, but they're also got their own problems. Everton away will be difficult, but In summary, our squad is a mess because Erik ten Hag couldn't secure his primary targets. We're reaping the fallout of that now. We will slide back to 8th, says Mike. Well, look, it's a really interesting question. Will we be lower or higher than 6th come Christmas? 7 games. Predict those 5 matches, Mark, says Jan. Okay, well, I will. Everton, I think we'll win. Everton away, I think we'll win. Newcastle away, draw. Chelsea at home, draw. Bournemouth at home, win. Liverpool away, lose. West Ham away, maybe win. So, what have I gone? I've gone with 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. No, 3 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. Yeah. I don't think we'll beat Newcastle away. I think Liverpool will beat us. I think we'll draw with Chelsea, but I think we'll beat Bournemouth, West Ham, and Everton. I started watching this show around the Sancho Grealish saga. You with Sancho all day. Also, you've criticised Shaw a lot in the past. Always missed him, says Tom. I haven't criticised Luke Shaw. Tell me you haven't watched the... You've literally just said you started watching this show about Sancho. I don't criticise Luke Shaw. I don't know who you're talking about, Tom. Talking out your arse, mate. I don't criticise Luke Shaw. I get criticised for supporting Luke Shaw. I don't criticise Luke Shaw. Who are you signing next summer to replace Casemiro and Varane? Do you think Sir Jim will go for big names like Barella or make niche ones? I think we have to go niche total football. I think we have to. I think with regards to United's current... I mean, look, I saw a complete and utter bollocks story today called Ten Hag's War Chest. And I think it was in The Sun or The Star or something like that. And they were basically saying that Erik ten Hag is going to be handed a transfer window war chest in January to make an assault on the Premier League. And I just thought it's great that idiots get something to read, because I just was like, I'm not reading it. Not reading it. Bye. Walking away. Because it's bollocks. And we're better than that. And football fans are better than that. And people say social media is negative around football, but it can also be really positive. And the positive is bullshit like that doesn't circulate amongst the intelligent football fan anymore, because we can't have a war chest in January. It's not possible. It's virtually impossible for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to inject 200 million into the club for transfers, because the Premier League have got rules anyway. And even if he did, financial fair play is still a thing. We can't spend £200 million in January, and we will not be spending £200 million in January. And I don't think we should be spending £200 million in January, because most of the time, January spends are wrong. We need to bring a centre-back in. If we can get to Debo in January, I would do the deal. Sir Jim Ratcliffe owns Nice, and this is a player that Ten Hag wanted in the summer. If you can do a deal in January that you wanted to do in the summer, do it. Bruno Fernandes is a prime example. We wanted him in the summer. We messed it up. We went back in January and we got it done. If we can get to Debo in January, I would do it. But I wouldn't start shopping in January not knowing what you wanted because you haven't scouted it properly. Yeah, we've got to be real. You know, we are still Manchester United restricted. United don't draw games. It's either win or loss. So the next few games will be very interesting, says Roz. I mean, that's a great point, Roz. Great point. We haven't drawn many games. Mark, Fabrizio confirmed that we'd sign a centre-back in January in his tweet about Johnny Evans. Not sure if people have caught on, but I think it's Todibo, says Robel. Well, there's a lot of people. I'm quite encouraged because obviously I speak to Fabrizio every couple of weeks. But I said this 2 weeks ago, and I said it to you at the weekend. Man United will sign Todibo in a month beginning with J next month. Next year. It's A-star information. Like it's going to happen. It'll either be January, June, or July, basically. And it will happen. What I'm encouraged about is that Fabrizio will know what he's on about, and I've seen a couple of other accounts that are quite well sourced saying similar things about Todibo. So it's starting to spread again, isn't it? And just like Rasmus, I'm very, very confident that we will sign Todibo. The only question is when it will happen. I don't know enough about the player to say whether it will be a good signing. I wish I did, but I don't. But we desperately do need a centre-back, and we need to get it right. Some would say that some of Ten Hag's recent signings haven't obviously been successes yet. This one needs to be right. You've got to get it right. Honestly, this season, the best teams look likely to lose a game and mid-table teams are much better. We won't even get Europe if we don't step up, says Dowell. I look at that league table and it actually makes me feel a little bit better. I know we're in a bit of a weird situation because we've had a crap season and yet we're only 6 points off Liverpool. But I think that's because we're never going to close the gap on Arsenal, Liverpool and Man City, by the way. That's not a gap to close. I wouldn't even say we're 6 points off Arsenal because forget it. They're going to move further and further away. Spurs could drop like a bloody breeze block. Villa, who knows how long that's going to last. And then Newcastle and Brighton are like us. They've got lots of injuries. So very similar. West Ham, I can't see them coming back. And Chelsea are a bit of a threat, but the gap's quite big and they've got some tough fixtures. So we're not where we don't deserve to be. I just think there's a lot of fourth place is up for grabs, basically. It is up for grabs. Maybe Sir Jim Ratcliffe chucking cash into the club on top of his percentage is an insight that he's thrashed out something with the Glazers more long term. Full sale only, says Mike. Well, hopefully we'll find out about that. But Todibo will probably come in the summer because he might want to win the league with Nice. Yeah, well, that's going to be the problem, Emin. I don't think it's whether Nice want to sell him. It's whether Todibo wants to come. I can't remember one past member of your team calling you the R word because of your support for Shaw, says Milton. Yeah, thank you. I wonder what you're on about then. Something I wanted to say, completely forgotten what it was. Yeah, we don't draw games, which was what Roz was on about. We don't win away games either as well. That's what I wanted to say. We've got Newcastle, West Ham, Liverpool all away before Christmas, all in the top half of the table. And we've also got Chelsea, Everton, who are one of the form teams in the league at the moment. So that's challenging. That is challenging. Chelsea at home could be a difficult game. They've got a better midfield than us, which always worries me. But I'd expect us to beat Bournemouth at home. Yeah, it's going to be challenging. I'm looking forward to it, but it will be challenging. And one thing about us at the moment is that we are a little bit hard to predict. What do you think about all the injuries, Mark? That was it, Olafson. Really, just reminded me. Give him a heart in the chat. I'm going to give you a heart in the chat, Olafson. You're a legend. Yes, the injuries. I've been quite consistent about this. I was on the football fill-in today. I said it on my podcast, which is out tomorrow at Goldbridge Saves Football. Make sure you have that ready to listen to in the morning. It's out at 7 a.m. Actually, we did a really interesting thing on the podcast this week. Podcast advertisement. So we did Goldbridge Saves Football is a podcast for all football. I do mention Man United on there. Please do give it a listen. We've got loads of episodes you can listen to. But the theme of this week's show, which is out at 7 o'clock tomorrow, is, and the reason I'm asking is because it's going to be interactive with you right now, we're doing our Premier League half-term report. So every Premier League team gets a mark like you used to get at school. A star, B minus, C, D, E, F fail. So A to F, we give a grade every team this season. What would you give Manchester United as a grade so far this season? That's what I was going to ask. So would you give us an A? Would you give us a B? Would you give us an F? What do you think this season is a fair grade for Manchester United so far? We're getting a few D's and C's. Somebody did give a B there, which was Beast Plays. Interesting. I suppose it's all about your expectations of the season and your standards, isn't it? And to be fair, the vast majority are going C, C minus. Well, watch the podcast tomorrow because I've already given my answer on that. But I'm quite impressed with a lot of what people are saying. I think coming into the season, we would have expected to be in a better position. I certainly don't think A or B is on the cards. But I also mentioned on the podcast about injuries, talking about teams. I saw Brighton's injury list today and I couldn't believe how many players they've got out. Newcastle have got quite a few as well. We've got quite a few. All I would say is I love to find excuses for teams like Brighton because they're a team that everybody likes. And therefore, if I say Brighton are really unlucky with injuries, that's an excuse that you can then lend Ten Hag at Man United. But I actually don't think injuries are an excuse. I don't think injuries are an excuse because if I'm a manager of Manchester United or Brighton or Newcastle in the summer, and I haven't predicted that by November I might have an injury crisis, I'm not a very good manager. I'd be talking to my director of football and my CEO, and I would be saying, there's a very big chance by November we could be in trouble, because we're going to play weekend, midweek, international breaks where most of these players have gone international. So by the middle of November, a lot of these players will have been playing football straight since the middle of August, 3 times a week, every 3 or 4 days. The Premier League are adding 15 minutes onto every single game. I think there's a very realistic chance we're going to have injuries. I don't think Erik ten Hag, Eddie Howe and De Zerbi are surprised by the injury crisis. I think you could use it as an excuse, but it's not a surprise. And did we do enough as a football club to prepare for it? That's the question for me. It's not about, I don't think it's an excuse. It's about where the blame lies. Does the blame lie with the manager, or does it lie with the club that didn't put things in place to prepare for it? Bottom line, if you want to be Man City, you've got to have a squad of 18, 19, 20 players that you're happy to put into your first team away to Spurs, away to Arsenal. And we're nowhere near that. We're absolutely nowhere near that. We've got 20 players, but we haven't got 20 players that you would be happy to put into those situations. And until we do, then I don't think injuries are an excuse, because it's not really injuries that the problem. It's the depth of quality in our squad. We can put a team out. So it's not like we're going, oh, we've got so many injuries, we've got to go and play someone from the under-16s. We can put a team out. The problem is the team is not strong enough. The squad is not strong enough. We've got lots of players. Loads of players. What Ten Hag is actually saying is, although I've got Reguilon, Lindelof, Maguire, Dalot, Varane, Johnny Evans until recently, he's got enough defenders, but he actually wants Luke Shaw and Martinez. Well, that's a quality issue. It's not a squad depth issue. And this is why we are where we are, because we've been in this position before. We've got a big squad. It's just not a very deep quality squad. Højlund's injury is not too bad. Somebody in the chat's just said Højlund injury. It's not too bad. He wanted Kim Min-jae. Yes, he did want Kim Min-jae. But no, it's not too bad. He should be back soon. End of the month is what people are talking about. Sorry, just having a look at... I hadn't read this from Ben Jacobs. Sir Jim Ratcliffe believes $2 billion is the ballpark that is needed for investment. The initial $300 million for this year and the remaining $1.7 billion will be for future projects. Future. Tomorrow never comes. What's happening with that? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, interesting. Paul Mitchell has moved back to Manchester and wants to be Manchester United's next sporting director. Whilst nothing is official, it is looking very, very likely. That's also... You need to watch that Ben Jacobs interview. I only watched half of it, and I need to go back and watch it as well. So Jim Ratcliffe is hoping to complete the purchase of a 25% shareholding in United later this week. I'd keep your eye out for Thursday, to be honest. Definitely. Yeah, interesting. Well, look, we'll have to wait on that. I mean, it's all speculation at the moment, isn't it? Eriksen out for a month. Rasmus is going to be back before the end of November, which means probably the Everton game as well. I think Mitchell will be the CEO. I think Mitchell will be the director of football, and I think regardless of whether Qatar wins the race, Sir Jim buys 25%. It doesn't matter to me. Paul Mitchell should have been the director of football 3 years ago. Like, I don't even massively get excited about this news, because it really shouldn't be about a sale. It should be about the competent running of a football club. We don't need to be sold to get a good director of football. We gave John Murtagh the job as director of football when we should have brought a director of football in. We should have got Paul Mitchell a couple of years ago. So I don't applaud Sir Jim Ratcliffe for getting Paul Mitchell. I wouldn't have applauded Sheikh Jassim for getting Paul Mitchell. It's just the biggest, stupidest mistake we've made over the last 10 years to not have one. And then when we do have one, recruit from within mates rates. We should have had Paul Mitchell years ago or somebody like that. And I think it will make a big difference to us. How big a difference is going to be really interesting. I don't think a director of football is going to make us Champions League winners or Premier League winners. But it should get us back to this ridiculous situation where every year we're in a position like that, wondering whether we're going to get top four. Manchester United should get top four every fucking year. Man United should be challenging for the title every year, but we should be in the top four every year. To actually be in a position where, you know, we get our knickers in a twist every year about whether we're going to get in the top four. I think maybe a director of football long term would at least stop that, because we should be top four every year. I want us to win the title every year like we used to, but we should be top four every year. Mark, is this Saturday you've got the charity stream? Gabrielle, thank you very much for reminding me about that. Obviously, it is the international break. I actually really enjoy this international break because it's the last one for months. And also, it's very close to Christmas, and which means on the middle Saturday, this Saturday, I stream all day for charity, which I've been doing for the last few years. We've raised over £100,000 over the couple of years that we've been doing it, and hopefully this Saturday we can raise a lot more. It's a bubble I go into with a community which I absolutely feel empowered by, because it's one of the rare times where I actually feel I'm doing something that matters. And I'm sure people will say, well, it matters when you're doing these streams, but when you're doing that and you see the money that's coming in and the stories that come in with it, it's just a very empowering bubble to be in, to be part of something that's moving the needle for something that I know is really important. And the charity that we do it for actually emailed me last week and asked me if I was going to do it again, which basically means, can you do it again, because we need the money. And obviously I'm going to do it again anyway. So this Saturday, it's for the Marie Curie Centre, and it's for people with terminal illness and supporting them and their family members. I've had people who've died of cancer over the last few years. One of my best friends from school, his brother's just died young with cancer as well. So this Saturday, all day streaming. I'll do the morning show on here, and then I'll literally go straight over and start on the charity stream. So yeah, looking forward to raising some money. What we do on the day is a mix. Sometimes I do like EAFC draft because they're very interactive. I normally play a horror game or something like that, which I might do in the day this time because I leave it until 1 o'clock in the morning and then I shit myself. And I'm open to ideas for stuff as well. Like we've done all sorts over the years, so looking forward to that. So thank you for reminding me about that, Gabrielle. I forgot. Hope you're well. How good is Paul Mitchell? Says Rizzik. Well, I don't know how good Paul Mitchell is. I mean, Fall Guys is something we always do as well. Yeah, Fall Guys is great. I don't know how good Paul Mitchell is. I mean, he's not been recruited by Liverpool or Man City or PSG. He was at Southampton. He was part of the team that brought Mane in. He was at Spurs. He was part of the team that brought Son in. He was at Leipzig. I think he was involved in Nkunku and some players like that. And at Monaco as well, he's been involved there. So he's got a really good CV compared to John Murtagh. It's a massive, massive step up. But yeah, I mean, it's an improvement. How much of an improvement, we'll have to wait and see. Would you play Fortnite? I'd give it a go. I don't really know how to play it, but I could give it a go. If it's for charity, there's not a lot of things I wouldn't do that are illegal. Okay, we're at 9 o'clock. Thanks everyone for watching. We're back tomorrow, of course. I do think throughout this week we're definitely going to get some drops around some very interesting news. So make sure you subscribe and get your notifications on. Don't forget as well that 60% of you said we'll be lower than 6th by Christmas, and 40% of you said higher, which is not too bad, really. It's not negative, is it? Also in the live chat, link for the Christmas tickets. They are going very, very fast. We've only got 100 left. We've sold way over 350 already. So 100 tickets left. It's on the countdown. It's a month away, December the 11th in Manchester. It's going to be our best live show yet. Can't wait for it. Christmas vibe, the Not So Silent Night. Everyone's going to be involved in it as well. Ben Foster's coming up. So it's a real United Stand Christmas celebration. And we'd love to see you there, getting involved, having a drink for Christmas. Can't wait for it. Links in the live chat and in the video description. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Legends, I'll speak to you in a bit.